Hello. This video tutorial will provide a simple introduction to the Model Sim simulator using the full ladder example. In this tutorial, you will learn how to start the Model Sim simulator, create a new project, enter in the source files that are required for the full ladder, compile the full ladder VHDL source and test bench, and perform a simulation. Let us begin. When you start Model Sim, here is the startup screen. Make sure that no open project is there. So if you see a project that is open, you can go to close project. The first thing you want to do is change your Active Directory. By default, the directory that Model Sim starts up in is the install directory for the application. It is never a good idea to put your files there. So change your directory. In this case, what I've done is I put a directory called 01 full ladder, and I'm doing my work under video. Create whatever that is required on your case. In the lab, it is under EE student. Create a name that's describing your lab. You can verify that this is indeed where the Active Directory is. After which, let's go ahead and create a new project. Go to New Project. Give your project a name. In this case, let us just simply call it '01 full ladder. The location is the directory that you have just changed to, and make sure that the default library name here is work. At this point, the project tab comes up, right, and you have the ability to go ahead and create files, add files, and so on and so forth from here. You don't have to use this at this point. Let us simply close it. Okay. What you can do is simply right click, right, add to project, a new file. Make sure that the file type is VHDL, okay, and then let's go ahead and add the file that you want. For this simple project, we're going to keep all of our source files at the same level as the project files are. In a more complicated project, you would create a separate source directory. So our first file is going to be full_adder.vhdl. It is a good naming convention to use the same file name as the name of your entity. If you go and double click on the full ladder, the edit window will come up like this. Model Sim uses the following windowing conventions. It has a dock and undock. If you go ahead and dock back in, it docks it back into the actual application itself. You can also then minimize it if you like, right? Or you can undock it completely. So here we're docked. If I go ahead and maximize it, I'm still docked, but I can see the whole thing. Or if I can undock it, it would take the window completely out. Alright, let us enter our source code at this point. The full ladder file, the full ladder module itself. In VHDL, the comment character is actually 2 dashes. Okay, so this line is actually a comment. Right? So let me just give it a description of some form. 281 project 1 full ladder. Okay. After which we can begin. entity is a keyword, followed by our name or identifier. In this case, it's going to be full underscore adder. You should not use any spaces. And the keyword is. I like to use the 2-space rule for indentation. It certainly makes for more readable code. So space twice. Let's go ahead and give the input and output ports. So it's port A, B, and carry in, colon, space. It supports an in direction and the type is a bit. And the sum and the carry out are the output ports, and they're also a bit. Close parentheses, semicolon, and end entity, semicolon. So, to review, the entity provides the interface description to the module. The entity name should not contain any spaces. There are a whole bunch of other rules for that also, for VHDL identifier. We'll cover that later. And followed by the keyword is, and then the active ports, their direction, and their type. Again, a bit allows for a value of a 0 or a 1. All right? Now we can proceed on to the architecture. And the next is which architecture. You can give it any name you want to. I like to use the word behave for behavioral. Okay, of full adder is, so I have an architecture, which is a keyword. Behave is an identifier of what? This full adder here. I'm going to describe what exactly does it do. Is we have a begin, and then you need to have an end with the identifier. This identifier must be placed here. Okay, so let's enter our description. Well, it's very simple. The sum is equal to what? Well, it's an XOR of all the inputs, right? That's essentially what the sum is. Okay. The carry out of the adder is what? Well, either we generate a carry. If either one of the inputs is true, we're going to generate a carry. Or if there is a carry and either one of the inputs are a 1, then we're going to propagate the carry. Okay, that's essentially it, what we have right here. Let's go ahead and at this point save this file. Click on save. Okay, let's take a look at our directory structure. All right, so I'm on Linux. All right, on your Windows, bring up your Windows Explorer and let's go to the directory where you're at. Okay, so on here, I'm under Documents, My Classes, 281, Projects, Full Adder, Video. Okay, as you can see here, these are the files that are created. What are these files? The first file, if it has an MPF extension, that is the ModelSim project file. Alright? So that contains all the properties that ModelSim determines for a project. There's absolutely no need for you to touch this file. It's auto-generated. Just make sure you have it as such. Next is, this is the fulladder.vhdl file which we just created. Since there's an editor involved, there's usually a backup file. You should not need to touch that. Okay. The transcript is a log window transcript that's generated. And then the work directory, this is where ModelSim is going to take your code and compile it and store it in its own internal database. You can take a look inside, right? Right now there's not much there right now because we haven't done anything yet. Okay. All right. So let's go back. And now that we've created the full adder, we need to create the test bench. Right? Once again, as you can see, we need to figure out some way to drive stimulus into this device to make it work. All right? So at this point, I'm going to pause the video